Hi everyone, just want to do a quick update on my extraction of seawater. Now this is a follow-up video to the longer video I've done earlier. It's about 35 minutes long. You can find it here. If you get an opportunity, you should go and have a watch of it. It's obviously goes through an in-depth view of how I went through the procedure and the exact quantities that I extracted. But it's especially important because not only for the quantities, but the procedure on how I went about doing it. If you watch it, you'll discover, just like I did, how easy it is to extract such valuable commodities from simple seawater. So, as you can see here, we have our salt that we extracted. There's about 145 grams there, and it's pretty decent haul, I thought, from 4 litres of seawater. And we also have our 3.5 litres of water, which is absolutely fantastic. Now the water itself is distilled water, so you can drink it. However, it lacks the minerals that normal tap water will have. So any rainwater or tap water or water from the rivers, stuff like that, fresh drinking water, will have calcium, potassium. It will also have obviously some sodium in it. But it has the minerals and that your body requires to actually stay hydrated, and you can extract those minerals for obviously other purposes as well, for bodily functions. However, because the distilled water was as I said, distilled, it has left behind all the salt, as you can see here, and as that's the fact, the actual distilled water itself is apparently very bland to taste. Now, I haven't actually drank distilled water before, but I figured why not give it a crack, and I'll do it so you can actually view it. I'm also going to be obviously having a whiff of this, have a smell of it. I know when I was doing the extraction, I could smell, it was almost like fish oils were actually passing over from the first 100 ml of the extraction process. So it's always worthwhile just having a check. See what it smells like, so you get an experience for it as well. So if you ever do the process yourself, you'll know exactly what to expect. Now the first thing I'm going to do, as stated, is I'm going to crack this open, have a smell of it, and relay that information back to you, just so you know exactly what to expect. And at the moment I smell absolutely nothing. It just doesn't even smell like water. It literally smells like nothing. It smells like clean bottle. So we'll pour a little bit into a glass here, and obviously if for any reason within the next half an hour I get any reaction from drinking this, I'll be sure to pass on the information in either a follow-up video or in this video itself. The lid back on that. Now the reason I wanted to learn this process is because if you go back 12 months here in Australia, we had no water. That's as bad as it was getting. There were certain towns that had completely run out, and there were towns that were literally on their last legs in regard to water. And in my hometown, at one stage, we were almost completely out. We had what was left in the river from weir to weir, and after that we were bone dry. We were relying on bore water, and obviously bore water is very similar to this. It's very salty, and it need to be distilled to actually drink it. So either way, you're either extracting the salt from bore water to make it safe for drinking, or another way, because I've since moved, I'm closer to the coast now, so I have access to the ocean, and the ocean is full of water. So it's a brilliant opportunity to actually have a go at extracting the salt from it and having a taste of the water. Cheers! And it tastes fine. In fact, it tastes really good. It tastes very similar to rainwater actually. Now I've also heard that if for any reason, the minerals are lacking from this, one thing that we could consider doing is actually adding some of the salts back to it. So all that would entail is literally taking a tablespoon or a teaspoon of salt from this. I reckon you'd want to start small. I've never done it before, but I'd recommend, like half a teaspoon maybe. Actually put half a teaspoon into this jar of water, give it a shake about so it dissolves, and then straight up we've added our magnesium, our phosphorus, our calcium, and of course our sodium back into the water, which is required for human bodily functions. Now it is worthwhile having a taste of the salt. We might as well do it. We've got it here. It's nothing crazy, it's just ocean salt, plus any of the sediment that remained actually in the water when I distilled it. Of course, if you go back and look at that 35-minute video, you will see that it wasn't crystal clear, the water. So any of the sediment that remained in it is now in this salt. However, I'm sure by having a taste of this, I'm going to be just fine. Salt has a way of breaking down bacteria and that anyway. It actually draws the moisture out of all the bacteria. So this salt will be very sanitary. So I might as well have a taste. It's only a small portion. And as to be expected, it is extremely salty. Now the salt itself doesn't seem all that important, but I know from past experience and from knowing a little bit about history, natural history as well as local history here in Australia and world history, that there have been circumstances in the past where people were not able to get salt. In fact, if you go back and you look at what was going on in India during Gandhi's time, they actually applied a tax to salt. As was the case, Gandhi marched from inland India all the way to the coast to teach people how to actually extract their own salt from the water. It's essential for life. If you don't have salt over a period of time, you can die. In fact, if you're very dehydrated, chances are you've leached most of the salt actually from your body, and as such it needs to be retained, which is all the electrolytes you hear about in like your Powerades or your Gatorades and stuff like that. So salt is extremely important. So being able to extract it and actually bag it up and store it for times of need is not a terrible thing to learn. In fact, I'd highly recommend it with all the uncertainties that are going on in the world right now. But the most important thing is knowing how to do it. If you know how to do it, you're one step ahead of the game. And I know if you go inland Australia, the local Aboriginal communities going back 60, 70,000 years learnt to survive off salt bush. And now salt bush are just a variety of plants that grow out in the desert and in some of the very dry areas of Australia. And if you can find these plants and you can pick them, then of course you can eat it, and by eating it you're getting your salt intake. There's also some salt mines, some ancient salt mines in the Pilliga, which is it's not a rainforest by any stretch of the imagination. It's more scrubby, it's natural bushland. It's very beautiful, it's quite spooky actually. If you ever get the opportunity to go through the Pilliga, I'd recommend doing it. However, I'd recommend doing it with friends and during the day. And if you're looking at camping, a group of people would be highly recommended. Now, in the Pilliga, there were obviously salt mines. So they were actually digging out the salt from an ancient ocean that used to be out that way. So you're talking, it must be 500 or 600 kilometers inland. But I believe it was the Eromanga Ocean, which was out that way. It was an ancient sea that split Australia in half. It's long gone now, so obviously if you go out that way now, you have the Pilliga Forest, and from the Pilliga Forest onwards it becomes desert the further you go west. So once upon a time the inland sea was there were massive salt deposits laid, and they're still in the Pilliga Forest today. So that is another example of just how important salt is to all of humanity. Now I have one last thing I would love to do with this water, and I was thinking of this the other day while I was doing the procedure because I was banging for a coffee. So I figure, why not actually use this water, put it into my pod machine, actually make myself a brew using pod coffee, so Nespresso, and see what it tastes like. I hear positive reviews and negative reviews about it, and the only way to find out for myself is to actually do it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do next. So let's do it. Let's add the water to the coffee machine and we'll give it a crack. We don't need a lot in there, of course. Just enough to make one coffee. This will probably actually clean the machine out too, which will be an added bonus. As you can see there, we have enough to make the one coffee. Now I can tell you that it smells awesome, like all good coffee does. If anything, it does smell a little different, which is maybe saying something about the quality of the water. If anything, it actually smells a little more burnt, which is a bit odd, but that's the way it goes, I guess. The real question will be, what does it taste like? And that is a fine looking cup of joe. Here goes nothing. Cheers. Tastes good. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest about the coffee, which I'm going to be, I can taste that it is a little bit different than normal tap water, which is no surprise because tap water has chlorine added, plus a whole heap of other flocculants added and stuff like that to get the sediment out of it. Of course, this has had none of that added to it, so we should expect it to be different tasting. The fact that it is just proves how unique this water actually is. But it's not to say it's bad, it's not to say it's good either, but it is water, and if you are running low on water, then this is an absolute fantastic way to go about getting it. All up, it literally cost me about $1 to extract it. In the end, it yielded 150 grams of salt. It yielded me 3.5 litres of actual drinking water or distilled water. At current market value, the salt is worth about 20 cents, which is not a great deal, of course. But the water itself, being distilled water, the cheapest I could find at the local shopping centre here was worth about $4.50. So there's $4.50 worth of water extracted and about 20 cents. So it's about $4.70 worth of assets, basically. Saying that, it cost me about $1 to extract it. The actual machine itself was 340 watts over a period of about 11 hours approximately. It's not exact, but it's approximately 11 hours. So it cost me over a little more than $1 in electricity to actually extract $4.70 worth of assets. It's not a bad business model really if you think about it. It's a really good opportunity, say if you were down on your luck and you actually needed some sources of income. Distilling salt water and extracting the distillate of pure water for batteries, for example. That's how they top up lead acid batteries, is using distilled water. And if you go to the hardware shop, you can actually find distilled water on the shelf. And salt, you'll find that at your local supermarket. You'll also find distilled water at the local supermarket as well. But it is definitely worth your time and energy and effort to actually learn how to extract these. And once you've done it, I think you'll agree with me that it is an awesome opportunity not only to learn, but to actually feel value from something you've completed. Now before I go, I'd just like to say cheers. Thanks to all my loyal subscribers. If you could give it a thumbs up this video, that'd be fantastic. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I'll be trying to do more of these videos over the next couple of years, hopefully. I've got about 50 different videos lined up, all in regards to extractions. Some of them I can do in the house, some I'm going to have to try and acquire a block of land to actually do it, because I'm going to need an in-ground furnace basically, or a fire pit. And of course, I don't think they'd allow me or appreciate me actually doing a fire pit in my backyard in the middle of my town that I'm living in. Anyway, thank you very much. Cheers.